Annie, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Hey, good. It's cool to talk to you because I'm one of the many people who would just come across you on TikTok, a couple years ago, and it was like, oh man, she's hilarious. She's doing all the different people in the room, and and now you're everywhere, and it's super
Aw.
cool to see that someone with, a creative idea followed that, and now they are having a successful career. So just congratulations to you for all that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's
Um,
been fun so far. It's kind of a fun way to connect with the fans, and the way it started was just an idea on TikTok, like you said, and it's amazing how many people wanted this kind of content and wanted this kind of humor. It's like a good comedic relief, you know?
Well, also, you wouldn't be able to do it if you didn't know what you're talking about, right? It's hard as someone who tells jokes, I got to be able to tell jokes. I have to know what my subject matter is, too. So it's not like you're just a casual sports fan and you decided to do all this content. Like, you're so dialed in. And when I heard that you were going to come on with us, I wanted to ask you some real questions because I think you're super smart. And I
Oh,
think
thank
you're,
you.
you're extremely dialed in as well. So let's
It's a
start with
great chance to prove you wrong.
well, listen, I'm wrong all the time, so don't feel like that's a thing. But I do want to talk about the NFL draft for a second, especially the top five picks, like the teams that have the top five picks, and because there are
Mhm.
basically four quarterbacks. Like, how are you seeing this thing shake out as we get closer to the draft?
Yeah, I mean, there was some question about drama going into it. I think it's pretty straightforward now. We know Bryce Young's going to go number one overall. We know the quarterbacks are going to fall, as in they're going to go off the board quickly. But I think the question comes with the Cardinals pick and if whether there will be a trade there. I think that's the first opportunity for a trade. You look at all these teams, like, will they trade to Seattle? Probably not because they're within the division. I wouldn't do it personally. But you look at these teams that need a franchise quarterback. The Raiders are one of those teams that could trade up. The Colts. I don't know. It's gonna shake up around three, but like you said, I think Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are gonna go off the board. I personally love CJ because I'm an Ohio State fan. Living in Michigan, I don't ask me to explain it because I don't understand it either. But yeah, I think it'll shake up around three. The first five are pretty solid though. Like edge rushers are gonna be really hot in this draft too. So yeah, so that's kind of my first overall opinion of the first five picks.
What about the Packers? Are you a Packers fan? I feel like by watching your videos, you either go hard at the Packers or talk about the Packers enough. Where do you fall in that Packers world?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
I again don't know how that fandom happened. I am so done talking about Aaron Rodgers. I can't even explain to you. I want this man to be traded yesterday, and I think the majority of Packers fans feel the same way. I think you know what I think is going to be shocking. I think that the Packers actually might draft a wide receiver in the first round, or Aaron Rodgers is going to show up to mandatory minicamp. One of those two things has never happened in the past for Packers fans, and that might happen this year. So either way, we're gonna have a surprise come draft time.
I mean, the irony of if they draft a wide receiver in the first round after Rodgers constantly called for it and cried for it, and if they do it when he finally leaves or when he's probably not coming back, I mean, kind of funny if you're not a Packers fan that was with Aaron Rodgers all those years.
Keywords being not a Packers fan. I know, and you know what's ironic is we built a team around him, right? We allegedly got the tools that he wanted. Then he said we didn't, but guess who he's taking with him to New York? Everybody that we got him.
Yeah.
So I can't even begin to tell you how frustrated I am with that man.
And the people that he's taking for the most part are like 50 years old. I'm
Oh
surprised he's
yeah.
not bringing Jordy Nelson back. Like, I demand Jordy Nelson get a contract at this point. I feel like, though, with the Jets and Rodgers saying, he intends to sign with the Jets, he obviously hasn't signed anything, and they're probably waiting until after the draft. I feel like, though, that gives the Packers and the Jets that trade dynamic. Like, the Packers probably won't get as much for Rodgers now that he said he already wants to go to the Jets. I feel like there's a weird thing to say and not actually do. How do you feel that's going to shake out? Like, I know what the Packers are wanting, but the Jets can be like, we know he wants to come here. We're not going to give you everything you're asking for.
Right. Yeah, I think that was a big issue too. And everybody's like, oh, Rodgers is all about the drama and kind of focused on himself. And when you have a team say, we are done with you, we're moving on to Jordan Love, and you still are kind of holding them hostage, it's very frustrating. But I think it does play into what we can get for him because I 100% was thinking first rounder. There's no way for Aaron Rodgers, a four-time MVP, you're not going to get a first round draft pick for him. But now, like you said, he's committed to New York. The Packers don't want him. We're done with him. So I mean, I'm not looking forward to what we're going to be getting in return for him.
Yeah, it's
Let's just
almost
say
like
that.
the Jets are like, wow, he's already coming here. We don't have to give you a whole lot. Like,
Right.
I feel like he, again, painted the Packers in a weird position. But how funny, again, if he just shows up at minicamp, not saying anything. Just like, all right, boys, I'm back. Let's go.
Apparently he's done this, is some insider information. Apparently he's done this before with Packers front office. I mean, we obviously know he has a bad relationship with the Packers front office, but he'll just not keep them in the loop and then just show up out of the blue and be like, "Oh yeah, we're fine." He's like a toxic ex-girlfriend that'll just break up with you one day and then come back the next week and be like, "What are you talking about? We didn't break up." Terrible.
So I won't mention the name, but we have a friend-ish, and him and Aaron Rodgers would play golf together at some of these golfing events. And Aaron Rodgers was like, "Hey, here's my cell phone number. Call me." And my friend would like text him, after a good game, and never would hear anything back. Never would hear anything back. And then finally saw Aaron Rodgers again at this course, and he went up. He's like, "Hey man, I've tried to text you a few times." And Aaron's like, "Yeah, I changed my number." And he goes, "Oh, cool. What's the number?" He goes, "Well, if I'd wanted you to have it, I'd have given it to you." And so it's like that kind of vibe.
Oh,
I don't know
wow,
Aaron
that's
Rodgers,
tough.
but
He pulled the Adam Schefter, lose my number.
yeah,
Jeez.
or like you never had it, so I guess you can't
Yeah.
find it. So I get it. He is still it feels like he's 100 years old, but he's still really good. Like that's the only thing,
Right.
because he almost willed your team back into the playoffs
Right.
after having a broken finger or messed up hand the whole year. Okay, Packers aside, who have you been able to spend time with NFL wise where you're like, man, this is a reality. Like I took this thing from some really smart content ideas to now I'm getting to do things that I never kind of dreamed that I would get to do.
Yeah, that's a great question. Recently, I had hosted the NFL honors during the Super Bowl, the red carpet, and that was incredible because guys like Dak Prescott came up, George Kittle came up. It was just a row of people that I make fun of basically coming up to talk to me. And I remember a lot of them I'd ask, like Sauce Gardner, I was like, because he came up and he's like, "Oh, I know you," and I was like, "Oh no, is this a good or a bad thing?" But luckily he had a good year, so it was a good thing for him. But like George Kittle came up and said, "My wife's a big fan of your video, love your content, super great." So stuff like that, when I know the players have seen it, even if they don't have a reaction to it, that really solidifies that this is something, and they're getting a kick out of it too. So the NFL honors was probably the coolest thing I've done so far, other than obviously Super Bowls and stuff like that.
Do you ever feel, because I definitely wouldn't say your stuff is mean-spirited at all. And if you don't know Annie, if you don't follow her or watch her videos on TikTok, it's quite funny and you're fairly making fun of people. As a comedian, I do it too, where I probably go over the line a little bit, but I never feel like yours are out of line, especially if it's a bad team or a badly run organization. It's always about a badly run organization that everybody knows. But do you ever feel guilty where you're like, should I have said that? Do you ever question it?
Absolutely not. No, there was, like you said in the beginning of the show, I try to make the jokes tasteful to each fan base. You really have to do the research, and people think, maybe I have people that write this for me. I write it all myself. But I spend probably 7 or 8 hours that Monday morning after the game just researching what every fan base felt about certain jokes. Cause I could make all the jokes in the world that I think are funny to me, but I want to really hit the fan base's inside jokes and reference a game or a play that happened back in the 90s, or something that's relevant to what happened this week. So it's a lot of research, and I try to make the jokes. Like I don't joke about injuries or stuff like that. But if you do something stupid on the field, I will be calling it out for sure.
Have you created any fully and thought either A, it's not that funny, I'm not going to post it, or B, you posted it and went, man, people aren't feeling it or getting what I was saying by it, so let me go ahead and pull it down?
No, it's never been something like that. Sometimes the jokes, people will miss that maybe, or I'll think something's it's really going to hit and it doesn't. But usually there's so many jokes in each video that someone hopefully will find something funny that fits what they wanted to hear. So luckily, knock on wood, people have been super supportive and great about the content, and they really like it so far.
So you went to school to do sports broadcasting?
I did, yes.
With what in mind specifically? You went in to be in what area?
That's a good question. I studied sports broadcasting. I went to Grand Valley up in northern Michigan, and they had they're a big football program. Matthew Judon went there, so that's our claim to fame. But I kind of went in not really knowing. I knew I wanted to get to the next level. I knew I wanted to be at ESPN or some higher network, which is absolutely amazing looking back. And I tell everybody this, if you have this goal in mind, it totally solidifies that you can get there to me, because I always had that goal up there. And little did I know social media would be the way to get there. And I didn't know that for so long because it wasn't as big in college, obviously. And then it progressively got bigger and bigger, and COVID really opened it up. And I thought, okay, now's the chance that I have to get on social media and use that as my tool to kind of climb the ladder a little bit and reach out to more and more people. I think my goal wasn't really sideline stuff. It was more hosting, or I wanted to bring something different to the industry. So I hopefully hopefully I'm doing that through humor.
When you started doing this on TikTok, were you doing it with, okay, there's going to be an end to this. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do videos and be able to show this to people, like this is what I'm good at? Or was it just all you doing something you love to do for fun and it just so happened to blow up?
Yeah, it pretty much was the latter. I didn't really plan on, like, the first video, the Big Ten video that took off for me. I didn't script that or anything. I just, kind of came from the heart and put the video together, and put it on TikTok, and someone else had put it on Twitter, and that's what blew up. And overnight it had 2 million views. I could not believe that many people wanted that kind of humor and that sports comedy, but I think we really needed it during COVID because sports were gone and nobody was really laughing about stuff. So I think it just was the right time, but I had no intention of doing the first couple TikToks that I did and having them reach that many people. Yeah, I think it just happened the way it needed to happen, but definitely wasn't on the top of my mind for sure.
When I watch your videos, I guess I think a little more granularly too about actually the effort you're putting into them. And sometimes you have all these different clothes, and I'm like, does she have to buy all these team clothes for this video or these team hats? So, and are they now sending them to you to use? Like, what is that situation?
Yes. For the first couple of videos, I had, the old Peyton Manning jerseys for the Colts and try to scrounge around and find random jerseys my brother used to have. And then for the rest of them, I tape on a logo. And then for a while, I bought a couple, or teams would give them to me, probably hoping I would be nicer to their team. But then some teams, like the Jets, it just made sense to have a half taped on logo falling off. It just fit the vibe for them. So a lot of the time I didn't get jerseys, but then the teams kind of got smart because the fans would start commenting saying, tagging the Bengals, saying, you got to get her a shirt. Like, this looks ridiculous. We're not being well represented in the meeting. So then teams kind of got picked up on that and started sending me stuff. So I'm pretty sure I have a jersey for every team. I don't think there's one that I don't have one for. So
let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys for a second and what's happening there at running back. And Zeke is obviously not going to be there, but what are they going to do in Dallas? Is it all going to be Tony Pollard, even coming off the injury?
Yeah, I think I tweeted out too when Zeke was getting released that if anybody needed a good center, that's the time to pick him. Yeah, I love Tony Pollard. I absolutely loved him, and I think the only reason he didn't get the credibility that he deserved was because when a franchise loves Zeke so much and their owner overpays him to stick around, the man still hasn't taken off the Cowboys from his social media sites, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that, really?
Yes. I don't know what's going on over there. But yeah, I think a lot of the way, I think what you do is you not test out because he's kind of already been tested, but give it, put the weight of the team on Tony Pollard, see if he can handle it. Consider a backup, but I have no problem in putting all my faith in Tony Pollard for sure. Love how.
Are you getting brands reaching out to you now to do big sponsorships because now you're like, you're the cool new sports person? Is it just crazy when you get a call and they're like, hey, when I give you so many $1,000s to show up at this event?
It is pretty wild. Yes. I hopefully never will get to that influencer status where I'm taking that for granted. The red carpet that I did with NFL Honors was with Xfinity. So bigger brands like that reaching out make me realize this is a big thing. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm hopefully still staying grounded.
What about the Super Bowl? You went this last year, right?
I did.
First time?
No, this was my second Super Bowl. The first one was the Rams Bengals one the year before.
So when you go to the Super Bowl, I mean, especially your first one, because I've been to a couple too, and I was just like, wow, this is crazy. The Super Bowl is so cool. But then the second time you go, even though you're working, it's cool. But like, there aren't enough hardcore fans there for it to be like a great sporting experience. Do you back me up on that, or are you like, you're kind of an idiot?
I would never say that to you. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's an atmosphere. All in its own. Like, I think the majority of fans that were in attendance wanted to see Rihanna last year, which kind of put a damper on the whole fan aspect of it. But I will say the Chiefs fans, I have an issue with because they just always find something wrong. They're in my DMs all the time. Like, oh, you didn't say this right. Okay, calm down. All right, you have Pat Mahomes. Eagles fans, on the other hand, are hilariously comical. I just love everything about them. And they were rowdy at the Super Bowl. I will tell you that. They definitely carried their weight there. So I think it depends on the fan bases that come to the Super Bowl. So I half agree with you on that.
I'll take it. Do you have a list of ideas in your phone about future bits that you want to do? How do you creatively come up or keep up with what you want to do and then find the time to do it?
A lot of it's following kind of the trends on social media and TikTok. There's so many, there's a new trend every week. So I'll try to, and the hardest part about the content that I do is staying relevant to what's going on. So if I put out a video tomorrow, I have to know, what happened in the Lakers game last night or whatever trending topic is happening to try and incorporate it into the video. So staying on top of the trends is really big. And I'll put some notes in my phone, or like different NFL draft news that pops up. I'll put those notes in there for when I do my NFL draft video. Hint, hint, there will be a draft video. But yeah, it's just kind of always staying up with what's trending and what's happening on social media.
Are you feeling pressure because you have been such a success and your stuff has been seen a lot and shared a lot, that you've got to maintain some level of quality? Like, is there a pressure there, or are you still just free and easy, and if it happens, it happens?
There was more pressure, honestly, at the start when I first I did the conference videos after the Big Ten, because that was, the first one did so well, I didn't want to decline from there. But now it's just got to the point where I'm having as much fun doing them as people are hopefully watching them. And I feel really confident with the content I put out, and I know what people want now. And I know what I can do for my aspect or for my side of things. So I try to just put out good content. Hopefully people keep liking it. If not, then I'll find something else to do, hopefully.
Have you had any, because I know you're doing work with Bally's right now. Have you had like a bunch of networks reach out and be like, hey, we want to actually hire you to be something, and you're kind of just figuring out what you want to do? What's that situation right now?
Yeah, that's been the hardest thing with this job, because the bigger networks, the bigger the network is, the more it might limit the jokes I can make. And there's been some times where I did content with ESPN. I did a video for them with NFC East, and I probably had 10 jokes that they had to take out because it wasn't, a part of their image. Not that they were bad jokes, but and that's what's kind of funny about my content is it's borderline, it's right on that line. Like, is this gonna annoy somebody or is it funny? So that's been the tough thing with other networks, and I'm sure there is a way to fit me into it. We just have to figure that out. And Bally's has been great so far because they're very kind of chill and laid back with my content. So I'm definitely in talks with a lot of different people and networks and trying to work through how we can fit me in there.
Well, congratulations. It's really cool to see your success come off you just putting in the work and having an idea and staying consistent with it. I mean, that's the hardest thing, is to have quality work done consistently, especially when you have to be funny. And you've done it. I admire it. Congratulations on all of your success. And, I'll be watching your videos and rooting you on, Annie. Thank you. Thanks a lot for being with us today.
Oh, of course. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Bye, Annie.